Yo, what's good? We back at it. It's your boy Sid. This is the third video in the series. We doing the archetypes of each ascendant sign. We're gonna talk about polarities and how you need to balance out your energies in these houses, which would be known as areas of life, right? We're gonna go now to the Gemini Ascendant, right? We're gonna go to the Gemini Ascendant and talk about how you guys are. Normally, modern or Western astrology, a lot of people tend to go by Placidus house systems, but for this example, we're going to use whole sign systems. The reason being is because it's going to be, I'm going to be able to put or assign each zodiac sign to each house, right? So, what that means is each house will be, and sign will be about 30 degrees. So, as you can see right here, we got Gemini on the first house cusp, right? Let me see if I can get over here, excuse me. Can y'all see that? See if y'all can see that, right? So we got Gemini right here, Gemini on the first house cusp. We got Cancer on the second house cusp. We got Leo on the third house cusp, Virgo on the fourth, Libra on the fifth, Scorpio sixth, Sag seventh, eighth Capricorn, Aquarius ninth, Pisces 10th, Aries the 11th, Taurus the 12th house. So let's talk about what this means in terms of balancing out your energies and you know how you may go back and forth or fluctuate within these areas of life. Again, if you're accustomed, last thing I want to say is that if you're accustomed to using Placidus, don't worry about it. This should still resonate with you. Just a different viewpoint. So with you guys having a Gemini Ascendant, this is the house of appearance. Excuse me, kind of how you act because it's the mask we wear, represents the physical body. In your viewpoint of life and in terms of how others see you. So you come off, you have a very youthful type of energy. Gemini is a sign of youth. You can be very communicative, very expressive. Maybe you talk a lot, you know. You guys can definitely do that, you know. And just a very curious individual. Being that it's a very youthful energy and it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the mind. This can show you, it's like a student type of energy that you would have, right? So this is how you come off. You may also be the type that changes your appearance a lot, you know. Because Gemini is a sign of change, right? It's the twins. So, being that we were saying you're very curious, right? Seventh house is your relationships, partnerships. You got Sagittarius here, as you can see, right? So, in your relationships, being that you're very curious, you attract people who could be kind of like philosophers and teachers, because you have a student type of energy that you come off like. You're very curious, so you attract. Sagittarius is a philosophical and preachy and religious and a sign of wisdom. So these are the type of individuals you attract, and you can grow through your relationships, right? You can learn a lot through your relationships. So Cancer on the second house, right? Cancer on the second house versus Capricorn in the eighth house, right? So it's interesting because when you have this dynamic, you value, second house is values. You value family and the home, basically. Cancer represents the home, family, so you value that, but you may feel a bit more Capricorn-like in intimacy, right, with intimate people. So you may feel a bit more restricted, actually, with this dynamic here. Now, wherever Capricorn is at is where we need to be responsible and reliable, because you're more restricted in your intimate life, like I just stated, and even maybe in sex, you may feel a bit more like you have to work harder in this area, or you're restricted, or it's more about work for you. If you do feel like you're a bit more restricted in the eighth house of intimacy, Capricorn can kind of show like where we may have a career at. So it's coming to the eighth house. Eighth house deals with other people's resources. So you may be the responsible one. Like it's like you need to master wherever Capricorn is at. So you may be the responsible and reliable one. If it is other people's resources, this could be shown for like a manager, supervisor, things of this nature, dealing with just taxes. So this is why if you're being responsible and reliable in this area, Cancer can show for you needing to nurture your own resources, basically. Leo in the third house versus Aquarius in the ninth house. So, start with your ninth house. Ninth house is beliefs. So, the things that you believe in are a bit different. It could be a bit odd or unique, you know, compared to other people, right? You may feel a bit just different in terms of your philosophies, right? So this is why opposite of that, in your third house, you want to be seen, you want to be noticed for the things that you basically like in terms of your thoughts, because you feel a bit different in the things that you believe in. You also got to be mindful because Leo represents pride, so you want to be mindful of being very prideful in your thoughts, basically, and just how you express yourself. You got it can show forth for prideful thinking, or thinking about the self. So just be mindful of that. And also, if we take this to a mundane level, third house is your neighborhood. Leo represents the entertainer, spotlight, the star. So you could be someone who's known in your immediate neighborhood. So if you're someone who's known in your neighborhood, right, and you're like, say, the hometown hero as an example, right, then it's saying you need to progress in the ninth house. What is the ninth house? Ninth house is expansion through like either spirituality or traveling. You need to progress in your beliefs as well too, right? So this could be through traveling or just religion, philosophy, higher education. You need to progress in this area, because opposite of that, again, you're known in your neighborhood or just amongst. This house represents neighbors, relatives, siblings. You could be kind of like the star in this area. So this is why you need to progress in the opposite area, which is your it could be overseas traveling, in terms of balance out that energy, and also being the humanitarian, in terms of either overseas or just on long distance journeys. You know, this could show forth you being the humanitarian in this area because you're known in your neighborhood. But yeah, you could have a rebellious belief system too, right? So that's just something to think about. And again, also, if you're, say you might have like a stellium in the ninth house, so that's a lot of energy in the ninth house. So if you're overly progressing in this area, which is long distance journeys, then you need to get back to being kind of like, you know, things being centered around Leo is the king, it's the center of things, being kind of like seen and noticed amongst your neighborhood and relative siblings, you know. So that's kind of how the energies could play out. All right, now we're gonna go to Virgo on the 4th versus Pisces on the 10th house. Wherever Virgo is, I told you guys, that's where you self-improve. That's where you want to work on. Versus Pisces is where you self-sacrifice and you give to. So in your career, 10th house, public image, you could be very giving in this area. You could sacrifice a lot for your career, so you need to self-improve and work, which is Virgo, on your home life, your family life, right? This is also our private life versus kind of like the outer world, professional, reputational image. Now, if you're working on your home life too much, then get back to giving towards your career. That's how we balance out the energies. Libra on the 5th versus Aries on the 11th. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Aries, wherever Aries is at, is usually where you attract selfish people, or you may have to fight, because Aries is a warlike energy. It's coming to the house of friends, so it can show forth for you having quarrels, conflict, you know, with friends, with groups of people. So you move a bit more independent, because Aries is an independent energy. All right, you move a bit more independent in this area. Also, if you're having conflict with friends or groups of people, then you need to make sure, 5th house is kind of like how you self-express. You need to make sure you're having peace and harmony and balance with your own personality, with your own sense of self to a certain degree. Another thing I want to say too is that if you are, since this is what you self-express, kind of like the sun sign, as this is a Leo house and the sun kind of corresponds with the 5th house, you could come off though kind of like harmonious and peaceful. So this is why if you're coming off this way too much, you need to be a bit more like, could be the leader of your friends, or just kind of like maybe a bit more selfish with friends, because you could come off as kind of, I don't want to say passive, but just, you know, more diplomatic, basically. We got Scorpio in the 6th versus Taurus on the 12th house. Scorpio is also ruled by Mars and Pluto. Pluto is the god of the underworld. Mars is the god of war. Wherever Scorpio is where you attract fuckery. So this is coming into the house that represents co-workers and employees. So you can move more secretive in this area, because you can attract fuckery, to say it like that, with co-workers, you know, people you work with. So this is why you may like to move more in private with these type of individuals. So, and it could be power struggles in this area too that you notice that shows up in your life and in your daily routines and your work. So this is why you move more secretive, because Scorpio is a sign of secrets. So when or if this occurs for you, this is why 12th house is kind of behind the scenes. You need to make sure you're kind of like stable and secure behind the scenes. because again, you could go through power struggles with people that you work with, like co-workers, employees. Now, if you're too focused on being stable and secure behind the scenes because of the power struggles, then you need to get back to Scorpio represents regeneration, death and rebirth, deep change, deep transformations. You need to go towards changing and transforming in your daily routines. If you're too comfortable, because Taurus is a comfortable and stable sign. If you're too comfortable behind the scenes, you know, you may not want to deal with that bullshit. So you may feel like, hey, I want to stay behind the scenes or in isolation, which is what the 12th house represents, because this is making me feel more secure. But you do need to make sure you're again going through changes and you're not so comfortable behind the scenes, you know, in your daily routines and in your work and amongst coworkers. So that's how we balance out the energies. I hope this was informative. Again, this is your boy Sid at The Scales Will Prevail. This is the Gemini Ascendant. We got more videos coming soon. Stay tuned, you know what I mean? And subscribe to the channel, you know what I mean? This was the archetype of the Gemini Ascendant and balancing out your polarities. Peace, y'all.